Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. Today we're here with the Civic Type R, which is this season's Prestige Cup car. And we're going to take a look at the Stage 6 effects on this car, as well as some tuning, both as it gets closer to max, as well as for the purpose of the Prestige Cup for both sprints and for speed traps. So let's start taking a look at the various effects of the Stage 6s with this car. So first of all, let's take a look at this car fully maxed. There's a reason why I'm not jumping to stage 5 first, because this car has a rather interesting tune when fully maxed, and I think it's worth a quick discussion before we drop the car to stage 5 and doing the stage 5 tune. What's interesting about this car is that its most optimal tune for running the best possible time is actually a tune that is most likely to get a 0 RPM drop. It is such an aggressive down tune that the dyno is only a 10.232 and the car is capable of 9.0 XX runs, meaning 9.04 something as the world record, 9.07 something is probably quite easy to achieve, and 9.1 most definitely not hard to do. So what you have is a car that is quite aggressively set up that has to be launched somewhere near 3,000 RPM. And I just shifted into fourth, which is actually a mistake. And you can run it out through in third gear. I'm just kind of showing you what the launch, what you can do. Now, this is not as good as that 9.075 I ran earlier, mainly because I let the gas go a little early. You want to launch at about 3,000 RPMs to get the best run. I'll take another run just to show you again, but after that, we're going to move right to stage 5 effects. Okay, so one more shot. Again, right around 3,000 RPM without getting into the really 3,000 plus range, because you'll get a 0 RPM drop. And if you leave it too low, somewhere near 2, it's a little bit slower. So somewhere between 2,800 to 3,000, depending on your device, seems to generate some of the better runs. Here, not optimal. I mean, it's 9.096. But again, you're talking about a drop from 10.2 to 9.0. That means you also would dominate people in live. You can also use this tune in map racing. If you're allowed to do it, it would easily get you easier opponents. But of course, it's also extremely risky in live because it'll bump your car quite quickly. All right, so let's start taking a look at the stage 6 effects at this point. Okay, so here we have the stage 5 only setup. And what I want to do is I want to show you two tunes here. One of the things that people normally do for tuning is that they put the car to the maximum evo that they can achieve, which for me, right now with this car, kind of tweaked the way I have it, 702 evo is about the best I can get, which incidentally shows a dyno of 10.605. Now, this car does run dyno and beat dyno. In fact, as you saw earlier from stage 6, it beats dyno by quite a substantial margin. So what can it do here? Well, what it'll do is, here you're driving it basically normal. And you can still do the nitrous from get-go, but of course you got to catch the shift and then run it out with fourth gear instead of third. That will give you a decent run. Let's take a look at the results here. 10.55. So it did get under dyno by a little bit, right? 10.6, 10.55. But knowing that 10.606 is the dyno baseline, what does it really run if you go and put it to third gear? Now, again, this is starting to remind me of the F12, a car that tunes completely differently than what it reasonably should be doing, simply because, well, it's kind of a strange car. So here I got a dyno of 11,276, but I've changed the setting to third gear, more grip, longer nitrous. Now we're going to have to drive it differently too by launching it around 3,000 RPMs, because it's much easier to get that 0 RPM drop. Now here, we're doing the standard nitrous right away, running it through our, well, 120 mile per hour, much like in fourth gear, pretty much. But what does it run? 10.408. So it actually runs quicker on a lower EVO setup with basically the same mile per hour, very little difference, but it's a decent difference in time. So keep that in mind, that if your goal is to try to eke the best time out of it, then it might be better to go ahead and run it with third gear setting rather than fourth gear. Dyno is going to be way off. 10.605 is the dyno. Here we're running off of 11.276. So from stage 6 effects, it might be better to work off of the actual time run, although that is also variable. So it's a little tricky with this car to get the real feel for stage 6 effects versus tuning effects. Let's just assume we work off of the 10.605 dyno, and then we'll get stage 6 effects off of that. So let's start taking a look at some of the effects here. All right, so we're back and we have stage 6 body installed. Let's go take a look at the effects this has on the overall performance. Now, here I have it tuned to third gear, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. It looks like a 10th drop on the dyno, a little over a 10th drop on the dyno from the third gear tune from stage 5 only. Can it really be much different? 129 seems to be the top speed. So it's definitely higher, but in the quarter mile, you're only talking about 121. So is it really much better? I don't know, but certainly the drop isn't all that dramatic. Let's test run it and see what it gives us. Now, mind you, the 10.408 run before is based off of this tune as well. So part of the key here is let's see what this tune can give us from a change of time-wise, whether it's going to be much faster. Driving it pretty much the same I did the first time, and we hit 121. That's only 1 mile per hour difference, but let's see what the time does. 10.253. So that's about a 0.1 drop. Okay, so you talk about 0.1, no, 0.155, about a 0.155 drop. Okay, so that right there wasn't all that impressive. So there's stage 6 body. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, we're back, and now we are looking at stage 6 tire. Now, stage 6 tire, again, with extra grip, the question is whether the power would actually get worse and the dyno will be negatively impacted. Very little change on the dyno side from what we see in pure stage 5. The EVO is lower than when we have body installed, and certainly, the temptation here is definitely lower the tire grip a bit, see if that helps. Theoretically, it would, but let's say we leave it at the same tune, and then we test run it and see if it is in fact better or worse. So again, this car being kind of a strange tuning car, it's very easy to actually run and do a bad tune on it rather than a good tune on it. So that's something to keep in mind as you build the car. Again, nitrous in first. These are not really optimal way to shift it. You, at least according to some of the videos online, it should have been shifted at beginning of perfect as much as possible, but it's just to give a feel for what we can do. So here the drop is much less. We're talking about literally a 0.5, maybe a 0.58 drop. So it's 500th, not even quite 600th of a drop. That is substantially less than what body did. So this right now does not look like a strong stage 6. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. Okay, next in line, we're looking at transmission. Transmission here, has definitely better evo after the installation than tires, so it shouldn't be as bad. In fact, it might be actually decent. Now, before we start going around retuning everything, let's put it to about 2.85. Okay. Take a look, see what it says. 121.8. Everything else says slower, but as we know, that may or may not be the case. So let's run it and see what it gives us. Hey, here we go. So again, I'm going to try to launch around 3000. Okay, perfect. And let it go in third gear all the way. It should hit about 121. Okay, so we did hit 121. Let's see what the computer says we ran. Ooh, that's pretty decent. 10.182 is a pretty substantial drop from 10.408. There you now have about a 0.22 drop versus a 0.15 drop. So transmission right now is looking pretty good. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, looking at the next one, we're now up to engine. So here I have engine fitted. It had a pretty decent increase in the PP points and a little bit of an increase in evo points. So there's possibility that this will be a pretty strong stage 6. The dyno says it will be because it dropped almost 2/10. Let's take a look from a run how it compares to the stage 5 only run. The problem with the high PP increase type stage 6s, these are one of the stage 6's last ones you want to throw in for Tempest. Because usually with PP restriction, you want to throw in only the stuff that gives you benefits, but not too much PP points. All right, so we're running pretty good down the strip here. This car obviously is going a little quicker because of the engine. Let's see what it run in the end though. 10.247. That was not as impressive as transmission. Even though the numbers look impressive on the drop, it's kind of in between as far as good and bad. So this is almost like body, but not quite as good as trans. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. All right, let's take a look at the next one in line, and that is now going to be turbo. So turbo, looking at the evo points and the PP points, is not going to be as impressive as even engine, which isn't saying a whole lot. That means it's not really that much of an impact. Certainly, the dyno shows a lot slower than engine showed. The question is whether it's going to run slow as well. Tune have not been tweaked. I'm kind of running it at the same third gear tune. So this may not be the best possible time you can get out of it. All right, so here we go. Let's see if he'll make it through without problems. Okay, 121. Each one of these stage 6s have been pushing around 121 mile per hour. Even at stage 5, you're easily pushing around I would say 119 probably. So, okay, so time-wise, very, very close to engine, but that could be the way I drove it. Right now, at least, it's pretty equal to engine as far as possible time, although you can see the actual effects on the way the power curve is affected is different. So very close to engine, just 1,000 slower on the run, although we don't know if that's in fact how close it is in actual differences between the two. I still think engine might be a little bit better. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, next in line, we're coming up on intake. Intake has a little bit of an increase both in PP and Evo, but is it really going to dethrone anything else in here other than tire, which apparently so far is coming in dead last? Well, it's not too far off from both engine and turbo, putting it kind of close to where the other two is. That kind of tells you turbo, engine, and intake, although there will be minor differences, isn't substantially off from each other as far as overall effect. So let's take a look what we can do here. That one is a little bit off from 3,000. Right around 3,000, as close as possible to it, is probably your optimal. Okay. Once again, 121 miles per hour. Let's see what it did. 10.273, just a bit slower than engine and turbo, but certainly close. And even close, relatively speaking, to body. So all these guys are not that far off from each other. Okay, so let's take a look at the next stage 6 in line. Okay, we're now on the final stage 6 here, and that is nitrous. Nitrous obviously will be tuned because duration has increased. Right now, it doesn't look all that impressive for the evo points. However, we really should be running around a 6.0 duration, which puts it back up in the 400s. Dyno-wise, 11.071. We've seen dyno like that already with engine, which came out to be rather sad when the final time came out. But maybe with extra duration nitrous, that would not be the case. Let's see what nitrous can do here. It may very well do pretty good. Oh, that might be a little late. Oh, perfect. No 0 RPM drop is a good thing. Okay, 123. So top speed moved up a little bit, but that also tells you you're going to need nitrous for speed traps, most likely. Okay, 9.804 from a 10.408. Wow, so nitrous is definitely the key stage 6 for this car. That is a big 0.604 drop from the time that I ran with stage 5 only. Quite important at stage 6. Without nitrous, you're probably going to have some headaches getting through the PC cup. Although most of the PC cups are much easier nowadays, so who knows? Maybe we'll be okay. Let's take a look at some effects from various combinations of stage 6. So here's the order I ended up with based on actual runs, but it is still an estimated order of what's best to worst. Okay, so we've seen from the stage 6 effects how important nitrous is. And here I'm going to talk about combinations. And normally with combinations, what I do is I show you the 2 best ones or 3 best ones, and then we show you 4 or 5 of the worst ones and see how the combination plays out. Well, with this car, it's a little different. It is so biased towards nitrous that I can almost tell you that just nitrous could probably compare pretty well to almost all the other stage 6s. Just how good is nitrous? Well, sprints and speed traps. Let's talk about them first before we put the other combination in of all the other stage 6s. Nitrous by itself, by tuning to 140 mile per hour, by lowering grip, can hit 140 mile per hour. So this one stage 6 will allow you to hit 140 mile per hour without any problems. Not only that, this one stage 6 with a different adjustment where you kind of leave that there for 60 mile per hour, but you change the grip and the nitrous duration, can give you a very aggressive 0 to 60 speed. So let's show you this real quick. Okay. Dyno, again, almost like the F12, can fool you here because the dyno doesn't really give you a very optimistic view of any of this stuff except for maybe the 140 mile per hour. But 0 to 60 with this car actually is pretty good. It doesn't need to have the best. You can literally do a 0 RPM drop, launch it with nitrous, and still get a very good 0 to 60. That is how aggressive this car can be for acceleration and for top speed, which is why it makes it so good. 1.828 0 to 60 on a 4.158 dyno. Jeez. Okay. Now, back to 140 mile per hour. Let's prove that real quick with just nitrous. Again, we're not using even any other stage 6s. We're doing it all off of just nitrous. 139 just needs a little more nitrous, and I should be able to get 140. Let's take a look here. There it is, 141. I'll put it to 7.7, 140. Just like that. Now, obviously, if you're going to use nitrous to push a car through to the mile per hour, you're not going to hit nitrous early. So this time I'm going to launch, but not hit nitrous in first gear. I'm actually going to launch and hit nitrous in second gear. Okay, so you kind of let it run through. And nitrous. Now, as long as the duration's running, this car's going to keep accelerating. And here in third gear, we know it'll hit 140. That is your 140 mile per hour right there. Yes, it showed 139, but it's actually 140.044. You can actually do a dyno that shows a little bit less, like 139 potentially, okay, and still get your 140 mile per hour. You just kind of leave it be, and well, maybe a little extra grip. It wouldn't hurt. Okay, 139.3 is the theoretical. Let's run it again. Once again, nitrous only. Nitrous only. We're not even looking at the other stage sixes. 140 mile per hour is capable. Why am I doing this? Because this tells you a lot about this car's capabilities when it comes to using it for Tempest 3. So again, nitrous. Now, nitrous duration is pretty long, so I possibly could have hit that a little earlier, but 140 mile per hour, easy peasy. That is the key stage 6 for this car. It is critical stage 6 and tuned back to where we want to talk about the best possible time. Okay, we can put it to about a 2.6, 6.0, 2.6. Now, here is the world record tune, right? When you fully maxed. Now, I'm obviously not fully maxed. I'm only running just nitrous. But with just nitrous, assuming I don't get a 0 RPM drop, I should still be able to run a pretty good time. Let's see if we can get this done. And again, this is just nitrous pushing its way through to about 125 mile per hour. That should be a 9.8 or better run by itself. Okay, 9.844. So that's just nitrous. Let's talk about the rest of these guys. Okay, what if I don't get nitrous? Just how miserable is it going to be for me? Well, let me put the other 6 all in and take out nitrous, and let's see what happens then. Whoops, definitely don't want to do that. Refit part. I don't know why even it's giving me that. Something's not updating on this, but anyway, okay, it's weird. Refit, fit. Okay, so here we have all the other stage 6s minus nitrous. Tune hasn't been tweaked, but let's increase duration of nitrous here to about 4.8. That's probably your optimal there. Any longer, it doesn't really push enough. 2.6, 199. And that's all the other stage 6s, right? Let's see what it runs. It's probably going to be nitrous at least. I mean, it would be kind of sad if all 6 stage 6s can't even match 1 nitrous. So I'm betting that it's at least going to be a little bit better than nitrous on that one. But is it going to be so much better that, you know, it shows that nitrous isn't so critical? I'm not sure about that. The time looks like a 9.6 something. That's probably not optimal. I could probably do better. But 9.6 versus a 9.844. So you got about 2/10 there. Mile per hour is 128 versus a 125. So there's definitely more mile per hour. Hitting 140. Once again, if we go look this way, 134 already. Okay. We're going to want to move that down to the 2.49 again, because that allows 140. That tells you 136. Can I increase this a little more to give it that? So with 6 other stage 6s, we are running into the potential problem of hitting 140 mile per hour versus one stage 6 getting you to 140 mile per hour. But Doesn't mean it won't do it. It just means it's harder to do it. Again, let's test it and see what we end up with. And remind you again, this is all 6 other stage 6s, all included. Oh wait, I just screwed that up. Whoops. Okay. Obviously, by launching it on nitrous, I just killed my chances at getting 140 mile per hour. I'm sorry about that. I'll redo it. Habit from running the car. So I'll do another test run real quick. So again, you're going to launch it. You're not going to use nitrous right away. You're actually not going to use nitrous until a little ways into second gear because you only have 4.8 seconds of nitrous. So let's do this again. Okay, run through first gear, a little bit into second. Here we're going to use nitrous right there. And mostly I want nitrous to run all the way until 139. No, no, didn't hit it. Yeesh. It was close, and I think it's doable, but it's actually a struggle to hit 140 with this setup versus, say, if I had just nitrous. So that tells you something right there. Now, 0 to 60 is a little different. We don't need as much nitrous duration. Let's compare 0 to 60 now. This should be better, right? I mean, it can't be worse than nitrous. There's 6 stage 6s working here. Yay! Boom, 60. Okay. Now we just have to struggle our way all the way to the end so I can see what it actually did. That felt like a pretty decent 0 to 60, but is it going to beat the 1.8 from just nitrous? Come on. Yes, it does. Okay, 1.5. So it's definitely good on that. The time is still good, even though I didn't quite get the best launch. So the mile per hour is going to be more of the issue without nitrous to get through the speed traps. But again, it's still doable. So there's your stage 6 combination of 1 nitrous versus 6 other stage 6s. If natural motion makes this final time ending at 10.1s, you probably only need 2 or 3 stage 6 of some sort and you'll be good to go. Or 1 nitrous and you can run 9.8s. If natural motion makes the final time a little harder and puts it in the 9s, 9.8, 9.9, then you're going to need quite a few stage 6s unless you got nitrous. So this car is basically nitrous dependent to the point where you can have 4 other stage 6s that won't even come close to the nitrous performance. So keep that in mind as you approach the Prestige Cup this season. Well, I would talk more about live racing and other things with this car because of the dyno beating tune that it has, but I think that's better off as a separate video. I will probably do that along with a more thorough Tempest discussion, although I do have a video on using this car in Tempest. It's part of a larger video that had 4 different cars I reviewed along with tunes. So if you're interested in what this car's tunes are for Tempest 3, definitely take a look at that video. And there's a discussion in there about the Civic Type R. Hey, I hope you liked the video. Feel free to make comments. Let me know what you think. And as always, please leave a like if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when I put up new videos. As always, I want to thank you all for watching my videos and giving me feedback. I'll catch you next time with another CSR2 video. Have a good night.